So first up, we have Jade from Integrum.
Can everybody hear me okay? This mic's a little touchy.
The other one doesn't work at all.
All right. My name is Jade Meskill. I'm the founder of Integrum Technologies. We are a web and mobile consulting company. So we specialize in Ruby on Rails for the web and iPhone, Android, and Windows Phone 7 development. We've been around for a little over 5 years now. We were founded in Chandler, just down the street. And we are also the founding member of Gangplank. So Gangplank was created out of Integrum a couple years ago. What else am I supposed to answer, Katie? What I've learned as an entrepreneur?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the key lessons that I've learned is, maybe a little background context is, some of my mentors in the business world come from a very old school of thought. Everything is secret. You command and control everything. Don't let anything out of your grasp. And the biggest lesson that I've learned is that openness and transparency always trumps that old school mentality. That's one of the reasons that we created Gangplank. Our employees thought we were crazy. My mentors thought that I was totally out of my mind to open up this space, have other people come and work in our office. They can see everything that we're doing. We really don't have a whole lot of secrets. And I found that that's a complete game changer. That this is the way of the future, and people need to learn how to adapt, learn how to work in a world that there are no secrets. It's very hard for us as a company to hide behind anything bad or disturbing that's happening, because pretty much anybody who sits around here is going to know our business. They're going to hear our arguments. They're going to see when we mess up. And I found that creates a much better culture for our company, to just know outright that there's really no way for us to hide behind those things. Because when you are in that old school mentality, it's very easy to cover up your mistakes and cover up the things that you're doing wrong. And when you have 50 other people in your office every day, it's not quite so easy. So that's kind of the lesson I've learned is, you need to learn to embrace transparency, embrace openness, understand that, with the internet, with the pace of things, it's going to be impossible for you to hide the things that, maybe aren't working out the best. But I've also found that it really is the recipe for success. When everyone around you knows that that's how you operate, and that when they work with you, they're going to get the truth, it leads to a lot better business relationships. It leads to a lot more success. That's it. Thank you.
We're all done now, right?
Yeah, that's it.
We agree. Ditto. My name is Jonathan Kressaty. I run a company out of Gangplank called Betwext, and we do SMS marketing and mass texting and things of that nature. One of the big hurdles that I've had being fresh out of college, I started coming to Gangplank when I was 19, is a lot of times you're told it's difficult to run a business and be taken seriously when you're young, when you're really young, when you're still in school and you have no experience and you've never done anything. And what I found is that even the people who say that don't really mean it. There's a ton of young guys here. We're all doing a lot of cool stuff. And so one of the big things that I'm a big proponent of is when you're talking to young people that are interested in starting their small business, or not going to work at a bank or a huge company, a Fortune 100 company, and being a peon in a cubicle somewhere, be supportive of them. Don't say, yes, that's what you do when you get out of college, you get a job. You don't have to. Being an entrepreneur is a career path, and there's nothing stopping you. There's lots of funding out there. There's a lot of smart young people with great ideas that just, might need a few bucks to get started or nothing, especially when you're in this room. And so what I've taken away from that is you can totally succeed with any idea as long as you're truly willing to work your ass off for it. so I don't really have as much as Jade did, but that's my thing.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Chuck Reynolds. I run a company called rYnoweb. We do WordPress development and internet marketing, basically, and I talk to small businesses at conferences about location-based marketing, proximity advertising, and all that kind of stuff. And I gotta speak louder. What I learned is being an entrepreneur. I learned a bunch of stuff. I went through a company and got out of a company. Learned a lot through that. So choose business partners wisely is a good thing. Initially having a business partner with a lot of money and me being the brain behind the thing was cool because it worked out very well. But in the long run, I was just a slave and worked my ass off while everybody else got paid. So I learned that. That was fun. What I learned out of that basically was cost of entry is the barrier of entry is cheap. I mean, I didn't need all that money to begin with. My college degree is shit. Doesn't mean anything. I'm an aeronautical engineer, by the way. But I don't use it. And the other thing I was going to say that I wrote down and took a note was have the difficult conversations that you don't want to have. You got to be confrontational because the best way to get stuff done is to have those, get them out of the way and have better relationships with everybody, clients and stuff, and contractors. That's it.
My name is Remy Taylor. I'm the co-founder of DevFu. We're another web consultancy firm. We make custom software based mainly in Ruby on Rails. Things I've learned. It's very similar to some other things that have been said, but the main thing that comes to mind is that regardless of the industry you're in, a lot of times before you're an entrepreneur, it seems really difficult, I might even say impossible. Regardless of the industry you're in, you probably have seen some of your friends go from sort of the corporate world to starting their own thing, going out on their own, and it seems really frightening. And it is, but one of the things people don't realize is how easy it is to start. A great way to start is maybe getting fired. If you get fired, you're already done. Now you just have the option of either finding a new job or you can start finding clients and doing work yourself, and then you're already an entrepreneur. Or quitting your job. Basically, if you give notice, you're done. That's all you needed to do. It is really insanely challenging once you get past that, but if you love whatever it is you're doing, it's easy and fun in communities like Gangplank, or even if it's a coffee shop, some local place you have to go where there are a bunch of other people doing the same thing, dealing with the same challenges. It makes it a whole lot easier. You'll be able to turn to people and say, hey, I didn't realize I had to do all this accounting. I didn't realize how do I hire people? How do I employ them? How do I deal with benefits and all these different things? Other people have asked the same questions, had them answered. So if you surround yourself in an environment where there are a number of other entrepreneurs who have gone through similar things before, that makes it a lot easier and a lot less frightening. You're not alone, is what I'd really probably say. So be sure to reach out and don't try and do everything yourself. Because you don't need to. You don't need to make it that difficult.
My name is James Archer. I'm the managing director of 40, which is a design and marketing agency.
You gotta hold the metal part. There you go.
Hello. We've been with Gangplank for quite a while now. Basically, since the beginning, we early on, Integrum had some extra office space, and we shacked up with them. And Gangplank sort of grew out of that relationship and some of the other things that Integrum was doing. And so we've been here for probably about 3 years now, and had sort of the full range of the Gangplank experience. We are like Integrum, one of the larger companies here. We're not necessarily a startup. We're kind of a growth company. So a lot of my experiences have come around from here's how you start to here's how you survive and then actually turn it into something in the future. Probably the biggest entrepreneurial lesson that I've learned, I've had a lot of discussions with other agency heads and things like that kind of talking about the nature of employees. And a lot of agencies are turning to a model where they just contract everything out. And I think a lot is lost in that process because a collection of individuals is not the same as a group. And when there's a group, you can have sort of a body of knowledge or a methodology or some sort of value that is provided by the organization that moves forward with that group. And when everything is just sort of an ad hoc team of individuals that's put together for a particular project, you lose some of that. You lose some of that magic and that momentum that can be where a lot of the really creative stuff and the really innovative stuff comes from. The other thing that I've learned is that a lot of people I know in the agency world are frustrated with sort of the new style of employee that's coming onto the market, where maybe they don't they don't want to be an intern and go pick up your coffee, and they don't want to put up with the crap and the long hours and all that. They have some sort of sense of self-respect and self-worth and self-confidence that makes them difficult to fit into a traditional employee role, at least in the kind of jobs that are available in the agency world. And we've kind of created a model where those misfits can thrive, where the people who don't fit inside the normal system can do what they need to do and feel happy and find some measure of independence and ability to exercise their self-confidence and do some really innovative things. And what I found is that the current generation of employees that's coming onto the market, it's gone by a variety of different terms, but those problem children that are coming out of colleges now are really the greatest generation of employees the world has ever known. And it's up to the organizations and the businesses to figure out how to take advantage of that, how to reorganize themselves to account for that. But I can't imagine, just a normal plug-in employee that cranks stuff out until they burn out. And, it would totally not work in our organization. And I think it's worth considering as you're growing and as you're starting up and getting to a point that you need to start hiring employees, to figure out how do you organize your own business to account for that new style of employee that's on the market.
Hello, Scott Kate with eventday.com. We have we do online professional event management, and in 2000 I was a part owner of a software company that sold to a public company, and since then I've been on my own running I don't know exactly 9 or 10 different companies, some products, some consulting, some succeeded, some failed. And when Katie asked me to do the talk, I was really trying to figure out one thing that I could talk to a new entrepreneur and give them that key piece of advice. And it's going to kind of sound a little bit silly, but really the bottom line to think about from the financial side is that money is really hard to make. And once you have money, you should not spend it. So I know it sounds silly, but you don't need a $300 fax machine or a new iPhone, or if you're paying an employee $60,000 to $100,000 a year, that money is going to be hard to get, right? So if you need to pick up new clients, or you have a successful project that has income, you should be very, very frugal, to the point of being stingy, to the point of saying no to everything. You don't need fancy $5 a day Starbucks coffee, because it sounds trivial, but that money someday is going to be needed to make your payroll. And I think that's one of the scariest things that I've always had as an entrepreneur is, I've had up to 13 people on staff making over $100,000 a year, and when you have to make payroll on the 15th, and it's the 13th, and you don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know how many of you have been in that situation, but that's really scary. And every time that happens, I look back and I'm like, man, did we really need to spend $4,000 in print? Or do we really need new MacBook Pros? Or does the whole team really need iPads? And so you may be having a good month where there's an extra $100,000 in revenue, or an extra $2,000 in revenue, depending on what you're doing. And you may be looking at your account thinking, wow, things are going really good. I would give you the piece of advice to not assume that you'll have that same month next month. So save, 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 don't spend, don't spend, don't spend.
Wow, that's sound advice, thank you. Actually, I agree with everything that's been said. I'm Tim Holliday, the CEO of Brand Adoption, guys in the white chairs. trying to be like 40, kind of got the thing going with the green, coats going on, and the orange or the yellow chairs. And so we went to IKEA. They didn't have red. Our color's red, didn't have it, so we went white. But, we are a word-of-mouth marketing company. So basically, we build tools around word-of-mouth marketing, both online and offline. We actually last week, we did a soft launch of our UREP platform, and actually this week we're really kind of opening it up in beta. So, universityrep.com right now, check it out. We're trying to get people in to check it out, give us some feedback on how it's working and so on. I'll just give a brief on UREP. UREP is a platform where brands can connect with consumers, and consumers really can find brands that they love and advocate them and promote them in their own ways. The average person talks about brands about 90 times a week. It's like 15 times a day. Scott dropped about 5 just as he was talking. I was kind of trying to pay attention. They're real subtle, iPad, iPhone, but it happens. We try to help consumers find those brands that they love anyway and just share them with their friends. Obviously, brands are very interested in word-of-mouth marketing. It's incredibly effective if done right. So our platform lets us facilitate that, and we're launching that right now. So it's been fun. A little bit of insight that as I was trying to think, not trying to replicate anything said, so that kind of puts me in a rough position. But the intensity and effort required. We're in a different stage than all these guys. Actually, we are your very early stage scrappy entrepreneurs, straight up. I mean, we really are just getting rolling. We're not in a growth stage yet. We're getting there. We're not 5 years down the road like Jade. We really are just opening up. The last few months we've really been jamming together, and so the intensity. I'm an entrepreneur convert. I was not the kid selling lemonade when I was 6 years old. That's always the classic entrepreneur story, right? I wasn't that kid. I was very reserved and conservative, and kind of in a longer story way got converted to entrepreneurship, and did not realize how the intensity and what needs to happen to make it happen. I'm learning that now, and that's a continual learning curve. Same thing that's kind of fun and interesting about brand adoption is raise your hand if your last name is Holliday. Okay, 3 brothers, and it was 8 on the team, so we're not majority, but 3 out of the 4 founders are brothers, and that's a classic. I mean, you should have seen trying to get funding, trying to pitch for a little bit of funding, blow your mind. You guys are startup, first-time entrepreneurs, and 3 out of the 4 of you are brothers. Like, no, heck no. It has been. I'll someday write a book about it. It's been a blast, and really, here's what I've learned. There's some validity to the stigma of you just cannot do business with family. It's not possible. You can. You guys have noticed the intensity is kind of at a different level. I mean, I'm the oldest brother, by the way, which is ironic. Brian's the second, Ken's the third. Some of the social filters that are typically there are gone with us. He just tells me exactly what he thinks. Things get a little intense. We probably should take the back room. We need to do that more often. But though that direct communication is actually, I don't know who was saying, maybe it was Chuck, about just being straight up and having those hard conversations. Actually, kind of easier to do with family, and so that actually, I think, in a way, is an advantage for us, which is fun. And there's obviously some additional incentives as founders to really make it happen. Don't want to dwell on that because really the team is a lot more than the 3 of us, but it's just kind of a little unique feature of brand adoption that we are enjoying. Definitely in growth stage, and learning here at Gangplank that there's just a lot going on, a lot we can learn, a lot we're trying to learn. We're not doing the best job at connecting, but there's a lot of opportunity that we can take advantage of here. And so for any entrepreneur sitting in these chairs right here, just our first day sitting here, we talked to Katie, so I come in, check it out a little bit. 2 people approached us like, hey, sounds like a good idea, here's my car, let's talk about it. And one girl gave us a resume. And I'm thinking, man, it's like magic. This is like Disneyland for entrepreneurs, man. So Gangplank is awesome. We have loved being here, and we'll keep on jamming until we take over kind of this spot.
Big ambition.
Working on it. That's it.
Hey all, Ed Nusbaum, Stealthmode Partners. You've probably seen Francine Hardaway running around. She's also part of the group. And the whole purpose of Stealthmode, we're a loose alliance of a bunch of people all working as scaffolding around entrepreneurs, usually filling in missing pieces until they can reach the next level of success. And so we also offer a fast track entrepreneur education program, which is out of, if you ever listen to NPR, the Kauffman Foundation, the Foundation of Entrepreneurship, it's their program. We're the local providers of that, and which is a good example also of when you get in business, what you think your business is going to be, it never ends up what it actually is. Francine is really great at providing a lot of value to companies one-on-one. My value is more in-depth, working kind of behind the scenes, getting all the parts working together, focused, business model, culture, and so on. So it's real hard for me to help a company from outside, so I've kind of pulled back and worked on my own projects. But Fast Track is a way to help a lot of entrepreneurs at once. And we actually do programs in Gilbert, Tempe, Maricopa, Mesa, and we had to do it in Phoenix, we're not doing it anymore. But the interesting thing is all that through the one-on-one helping companies, through my own company I started in college, we've seen probably about 500 companies at least through the years. And the commonality, every entrepreneur makes the exact same mistakes. Kind of what Scott said, my rule of thumb on that is incur an overhead before it's time. There's always that temptation of having fixed costs. Don't. Your advantage of startup is who you start with and being lean and being able to iterate, change, and pivot. And don't give that up. All your competition can spend more money and can throw more resources up than you can. Your advantage is who you're working with and how nimble and fast you can change, iterate, and adapt. So don't give that up. My personal project here, there's a lot of great people in this room. A lot of great people are doing client service work, which I totally respect because I can't do that. I'm more of a, I have to build products. But if anyone is looking to make that transition to client services or looking to build a product, anything internet, web, mobile, that's the stuff I wanted to really help with. And now I'm back in my own projects. I'm not making a business of helping entrepreneurs. I just do it for fun. So if you're that type of person looking for help or advice, I'd be more than happy to help. And between Josh Strebel, Chase Granberry, they've kind of made that leap and they're doing product companies. So I've been trying to help them and just give them encouragement. They're around too to help you make that transition. So anything that looks like that, Chase, Josh, myself, Francine, we're all here to help.
So based on what the other anchor company said, do you guys have any other comments you'd like to make about insights or things that you've learned before we go to questions? Anybody else? Okay.
Insights, money thing that starting companies or?
Oh, just, anything else anybody said, just want to comment on.
That's a bring up a question.
Yeah, I was going to say the money thing was a good talk. That's part of my bad business partnership was the whole money thing. He wanted to spend it, I didn't want to. But yeah, if we do Q&A, I guess. Yeah,
so if you have an audience or you have a question from the audience, either shout it really loud or if the presenters can repeat it because the video doesn't pick it up very well. So questions, this is your time to actually confront all of our anchor companies.
No questions.
You gotta be kidding me. I've got one. I've got lots.
Lady in the back that we don't know.
So my question is, a lot of you guys are in the stages of hiring on more people or have done so in the past. How does that change? How is that different from a regular office now that you're in Gangplank? Have you had issues with hiring and taking on employees?
Well, Katie. So the question is, what challenges have we faced hiring employees within the context of working out of Gangplank? And it really does take a particular kind of temperament to be able to handle this and not just to put up with it, but to thrive in this kind of environment. And fortunately that's sort of aligned with our company culture anyway, so it sort of fits the types of people that we're looking for. Our hiring process is really based on personality and temperament much more so than skills. We don't look at resumes, we don't whatever. I mean, if we find someone who's pretty competent at the general area that we're looking at, but they have the right skill set and the right temperament, that's what we hire for. Because if they don't, that's the base qualification that if they don't have, they'll fail on the very first day when they come in and it's noisy and it's busy and it's chaotic and someone interrupts them and they don't know what's going on and they're a room full of strangers. And I mean, it takes a certain pain tolerance to be able to deal with that. And what we find though is that the people who can cope with this kind of environment tend to be the kind who are going to thrive anyway. and they're strong people. They're self-directed. They're they're open to communicating. They're not trying to hide things. They don't have a lot of secrets that they're trying. They don't want to see people see them goofing off, whatever the case may be. And so what we found is that it's actually been really beneficial in sort of forcing us to hire the right people, because someone who's a rock star at what they do but won't thrive in this environment is probably not going to really thrive in our company anyway. Jade, do you have any perspectives on that?
So I definitely agree with what James has said. Is we've gone through some of the same challenges in finding people who can coexist in a chaotic environment. There are a lot of unique distractions here that you may not get if you're locked away in your own office. But what we find is that maps really well to the real world. We are a client services company, and we deal with clients who have chaos all around them, and if you need the perfect conditions in order to work well, you are not going to work well at Integrum. And so it's been extremely beneficial in filtering out those people who are going to be a problem long term. It's also been a great recruiting place for us. A lot of our employees have come from people who have come in and worked at Gangplank and hung around, for maybe a couple weeks, but maybe months and months before the right opportunity presents itself. And space is another challenge. When you have your own office, it's your own thing, right? And you can kind of do whatever you want. And at Gangplank, there's somewhat of a compromise, right? Is you need to take into account everyone else around you, and you can't just dominate the space, do whatever you want. There has to be the other anchor companies taken into consideration. And we kind of have a unique set of requirements at Integrum. You can see our boards on the wall and all those things. That's been an interesting challenge to make that fit within the community environment.
So earlier I was preaching about don't spending money or not spending money, and as an entrepreneur, I would go against what I said earlier. If you are hiring somebody, if you're going from 1 to 2 people, and that second person is a paid hourly salary employee, I would give you a little advice to not under any circumstances do your own payroll taxes.
Yes.
Hire ADP, hire Paychecks, hire somebody. It's going to cost you about $50 a month per employee. That's just a ballpark figure. It might be more or less depending on your scenario. But there's no amount of time and thought and energy that you could put into doing your taxes wrong versus paying and outsourcing that. So, instead of a shiny new MacBook, I would invest in outsourcing payroll. But the other thing about working at Gangplank, it really is a different environment, right? We came from really expensive office space, and I've been at Gangplank now for over a year. And I just love the idea of working in a community. So perfect example was yesterday. I don't do very much CSS, but I had a question about a particular tag. And so, I sit around 5 people and I just get literally asked out loud, hey, how does this work with that? And in 1 second, I got the answer. So that saves you from opening a browser, going to your search engine, trying to find the answer on your own. And sometimes that saves you 30 seconds. Sometimes it saves you, 20 minutes. And so working in community, it's just great to be able to talk to other people and not be in a box. Even if that box is your office with the same 4 people that you talk to, it's great to be able to bounce ideas off of strangers and get a fresh set of eyes on something. We've done some really big projects, and every once in a while I'll just grab somebody who I don't talk to and say, hey, here's a project we're working on. What do you think of this screen? And to get a fresh set of eyes on it, they're like, oh, well, that shadow's a little weird. And you're like, oh, that's perfect. That's exactly what we needed. And you just can't get that sort of collaboration if you're in a box. So thank you to everyone at Gangplank. We love working here.
Those are great points, and I characterize that as being efficient versus effective. And many entrepreneurs spend a lot of time trying to be efficient, but they're not really effective. Gangplank practice helps you be effective, because there's so many great people around the room that whatever you need done, probably someone's already done it, doing it, or or knows exactly the person to talk to get it done. And that is such a huge competitive advantage when you're first starting off, because you don't have limited resources. You have a small team, but all of a sudden you have a whole room full of people who are there. And I love the idea that you don't pay with capital, with monetary capital. You're paying with social capital. So if you're here, look for ways to give back.
So the question is, what advice do we have for hiring contractors? You want to take that? Who's hiring a lot of contractors?
Hello. Hiring contractors. Okay. I do a lot of 1099 stuff. I don't have any more employees. I don't want to go down that road anymore. But I think the one, I don't know. I hire a lot from here. Like I pass work back and forth with contractors I know, and then just via Twitter that I'm connected with almost everybody. That's helped me a lot because I can dish off the stuff that I don't want to do, or that, like, I'm not a designer. I can do it if you put a gun in my head, but I don't want to do it and I suck at it. But by here, there's somebody in here I can get to do it, or I can hire somebody else that somebody else knows. Same old adage though, hire slow, fire fast. Contractors will burn your ass. And people try and dwell on it and get them to fix it and get going. Fire fast, get it done. There's more out there. So by hire slow, I mean credentials. So who do they know? What work have they done? Have I seen their work? How easy are they to work with? If I need something done in 3 hours on a Sunday night, are they going to be able to do it, or are they going to lollygag around until Wednesday afternoon? I don't know. Same old adage: hire slow, fire fast.
So we actually don't hire a lot of contractors, but when we do, the thing to keep in mind is that they're an extension of you and your brand, and you will get burned, and it's very easy to just blame it on the contractor, to whoever your client is. They don't care. They hired you for a reason, and if you can't manage your contractors well, that's a very poor reflection on yourself. So I would agree with Chuck. Be very careful who you work with, because they are representing you, your capabilities, your brand, your level of quality. So be very careful.
I'm not sure how useful this would be, because working in Gangplank, we're kind of spoiled. I think I've had a lot of the same experiences that Chuck and Jade have pointed out, which is working with a lot of people from Gangplank. We also specialize in custom software. We hate design, we don't like doing it. And we've worked with designers in this building, or sometimes if they're busy, there's other people sort of through our community who either, we know through hack nights that come every Wednesday night, or we know through someone else here that we've seen their work, we know them, they're local. Pretty much everyone, so we have full-time contractors, and all of them, including both myself and my co-founder, who we're not contractors, but we all have contracted out of Gangplank ever since the first Gangplank building. We've all been contracting out of here, and everyone we work with is a contractor out of this community. So really the biggest advice I'd have is getting out there and finding those people. It doesn't necessarily have to be through Gangplank, but you're probably going to have a lot more success finding someone through a community or a building like this or an environment like this than just looking online for some offshore or even internal contractor. You're going to have a lot more luck actually going out and meeting people, like Chuck said, making sure that you've actually seen stuff that they've done. And here you'll probably find people who've worked with other companies in this building.
Remy touched upon a great point where if you think of like small towns, people aren't necessarily more ethical or moral than in big cities. Just everyone knows each other, so no one can really get away with anything. And Gangplank is kind of creating a small town where not everyone here is always going to be perfect, but they're going to try a little bit harder because they're part of the community. And that actually is a great reason to, as you're looking to contract out, look for someone else in the building, because as Remy said, odds are people already know who they are. They've already worked with them. They can say the good and the bad, and everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. But knowing what they are going in can save you a lot of hassle down the line. And everyone kind of treats each other a little bit better because they're part of the same community. So, if you're not part of the small town yet, come join us. And if you are part of it, think about that. How do you keep on strengthening the community by putting good stuff into it? And as your reputation grows, you get more business.
Other questions?
Do any of you guys have mentors or have had mentors in the past? Where do you look to get those? What do you look for in a mentor? Those kind of questions.
So I haven't hired anybody officially to be a mentor. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what was our who are our mentors and where can we find them? That question. So I've never really sought out a mentor because I kind of figured I could handle it on my own. Half mistake, half good choice there. But the guy at the end of the row with the puppy, Ed, I would have to say Ed straightened my brain out. And it was just because of hanging out at Gangplank. I'm kind of I got the OG badge, the original Gangplanker badge. Been around for a long time, but just hanging around Ed and knowing what he does and working with Francine through Fast Track at my old company, Ed was a cool dude to talk to because I could just talk to him about my problems, about the business partner, what was going wrong. Because I couldn't vent to any of my friends. Nobody's an entrepreneur. Nobody gets it. You have a company. You're rich. What's your problem?
Right.
Do you even know what an entrepreneur means? Because not really. So Ed was a cool dude to talk to. I bounced a lot of ideas off, and he just kept telling me, he's like, get out of it, get out of it, get out of it. It's a bad deal. I'm like, yeah, but I can make this work. And fuck it, man. I listened to Ed. It was the best choice I ever did. That's my mentor.
Mine's really quick because most of our business mentors, in terms of when we need to go to someone for advice, we've gone to Jade for advice, definitely Ed for advice, got James for a lot of advice, Chuck for little things, and pretty much the people here. Well, not, we're in different businesses, but especially James and especially Jade and Derek. His business is very similar to ours, but a few years ahead. So a lot of the people right here, we haven't really had to look outside the building for much mentoring.
So I've had a few, and kind of back to my story is I've had a few mentors over the years. I was the CTO of another company here for 10 years, and the CEO of that company was really my mentor. But you also have to remember to be your own person, and your mentors have their own set of experiences. They have their own ideas, their own ways that they think things should be done, and you have to be sure of yourself to know that when you need to differ from their advice, that you're making the right choice. And that's one thing that I've been happy with myself is I knew when they weren't giving me the advice that was correct for the direction that I wanted to go, and I respect their advice, and it's not because they are unqualified. It's because I'm choosing a different path than what they have gone down. So that being said, we also this is a great question because we do have mentors in Gangplank that are donating their time for free to anybody who wants to sign up and take their time. So if you go on the Gangplank site, you can check it out. You can talk to Katie. You can get signed up for a block of their time. And we've got Francine Hardaway. We've got Greg Head.
You've got 9 mentors.
Yeah, we have 9 mentors at this point.
Yeah.
And we're consistently looking for really great, really experienced people who've been down that road before to give great advice to up-and-coming entrepreneurs. Another thing that we've just started is some more. We haven't found a good name for it yet, but it's technical mentoring. Let's just say you have a technology type question. You don't know what path to go down. You don't know what new technologies you should be experimenting with or looking at. We're going to be offering those services as well, starting in the first week of December, I believe. And I'm one of those mentors. I believe Chuck is, and you're interested in, please sign up. Please take advantage of all these people who are willing to donate their very precious time. And my final piece of advice is when you do hit a point where you just don't know what to do, sometimes the right choice is to hire a professional mentor. And that's something that we did last year. Is we had worked with, or actually the beginning of this year, we've been talking with Greg Head, who's now one of the mentors at Gangplank, and just had some really great conversations. He had some really great life experience that we wanted to learn from. We brought him in and were able to really, really dig deep and do the deep dive into our business and figure out, what were the things that were holding us back, build a strategy and execute that strategy, and it was the best decision we ever made.
I still remember one of the best pieces of mentoring I got was at Gangplank. It was kind of early on. I think it was back in Gangplank 1 days. But it was kind of in the earlier days of our business, and we were growing and having the usual struggles to go along with growing, and I was trying to do everything myself and doing all the payroll taxes that Scott warned us about and all that kind of stuff. And so I just had this like perfect storm of things going wrong all in one shot. We had a big client leave us. I had the IRS dinging me for taxes that I'd screwed up. I think we had non-paying clients. We had the bank cut off our line of credit. So all this stuff is happening like on the same day. And I'm ready to just melt down. And I went and talked to Jade about it and just kind of vented to him a little bit and said, oh yeah, that's normal, don't worry about it. And since then, because a lot of entrepreneurship is just sort of having the capacity to stare death in the face, not worry about it, and just do what you have to do, and kind of move through it. So we did what I had to do and move through it, and now we're fine. And everything worked out, we got it all sorted out, and I was able to do so sort of methodically and consistently because at Jade's advice, I wasn't worrying about it, I just took care of it. And that was probably the best piece of mentoring that I got that made the biggest sort of change in how I, as a business person, ran the business. And that was just a typical casual Gangplank conversation, the same kind of thing that happens here all the time. But to second what Jade was saying, I mean, there are a lot of people here who not only know what they're doing, but they're very willing to volunteer their time. I mean, everyone here will tell you pretty much anything about the history of their company or anything that they did or any tactics, anything they learned, all the stuff that is usually top secret stuff. We'll completely spill all that. I mean, if you need to know my finances and how we run a business because you need a similar business and you need to figure out if you're doing something similar or if your numbers are way off or whatever, I'm more than happy to share that information with you. And most of the folks here are willing to share stuff that most companies will not share. So, do take advantage of the resources that are available here.
One, so I agree and second everything that's been said. I mean, we're talking about mentors like these guys up here for sure. Greg Head and Francine Hardaway and Ed. I mean, these are legit mentors, obviously. To add to that, so don't discount what I say, what I just said with what I'm going to say, which is one kind of misnomer, one stigma that I used to have is a mentor has to be 10 years older, has done it before, and I just want to follow his path. So I can only look at people that have done what I'm doing. And I have found that some of the best advice that I have received have been from what I would consider peers. Somebody that is doing it, or actually maybe hasn't done it, but they have a different perspective that I can kind of add to my plate. So mentors or mentor advice can come and should come, or we should allow it to come from anybody, anywhere, whether they're considered a peer or less experience or more. All that judgment needs to go out the window and just take it for what it is and go forward.
Great question. And about a year ago, Derek asked me to have mentor office hours. I always resisted that because I figured, I'm just hanging out, people will come catch me or whatever. And I just realized I should change that, so I'll sign up for office hours and encourage you because ultimately, one of the reasons I'm here is like I've done it the hard way. I was the stupid entrepreneur out of college who thought that I had to do it myself, that was cheating by asking for help. And I look back at that kid and go, what the hell? What was I thinking? Because I actually had lots of great people around that could have easily helped and could have solved me so much time, energy, and frustration. And in the end, even if you're one of those people that you take pride in, your head's down, I'm going to do this myself. Well, asking for help from other people is still doing it yourself. It's still finding a better way. And to follow up with Jay's point, mentors will have a high problem being wrong. don't take what they're saying literally. They're not on the same path you are, but asking people for advice, perspective, and so on. And that's what's interesting what Chuck said. I never told him to quit. I helped him walk through the different options he had and try to get a framework so he could make a decision. And he remembers that I would but cool, that was his call in the end. And then also many meetings where Francine and I are in together, we will give an entrepreneur exact opposite advice. We'll both explain why, but it's not that we're necessarily either right or wrong. It's more different perspectives, different approaches. But lots of times, it's the question that you don't even know to ask is the one that you should be asking. And looking back, everyone's in their own ignorance. Looking back at the kid I was starting coming out of college, I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And if I had just talked to some people who maybe in similar industry or even just a whole different business, but every business shares a lot of characteristics like payroll. Yes, we did our payroll for probably half a year before we finally realized this is a stupid waste of our time, and the liability of getting it wrong is too high. Why not pay paychecks, $50 a month? So a lot of those things encourage you to talk to other people. As James said, there's lots of great people in different stages of growth, different industries. The odds are, if you have a problem or a question or don't even know what the question is, someone here is already in front of that, and their answer might not be the same as you, but at least talk to them, formulate that better.
I have a real quick public service announcement. Stop spending money.
I'm going to interrupt Jade. It'll get to you eventually. On the spending money thing, I actually have a slightly different view of it. So generally speaking, at the very early startup stages, I definitely agree. You don't have any money, so you're trading your time for money. So you're basically going to give in sweat what you lack in money. As the business gets going, though, you reach a stage where it suddenly becomes stupid to penny pinch, and you'll waste $20 trying to save $5. And there comes a stage where your team does need a brand new iPhone so that they can just get to what they're doing instead of goofing around with some phone that doesn't do what they need to do, and they get lost on the way to the client meeting because their phone doesn't have an app. And it's like you have to think of the whole system and what makes sense in the whole system, not just this costs X and I don't want to spend it, so I'm not going to. So that perspective can change over time. I mean, while you're in the very beginnings, you do need to completely penny pinch regardless. But as it gets going, give yourself a little bit of slack and be willing to think about the whole system and how you can spend a little money that makes you more money later.
Sorry, Jade.
It's such a big point, and I get to block Jade for a few more minutes. So the idea of incurring overhead before it's time or being frugal, it's not to be like cheap, but it's more to be smart. In the sense that any of your competition out there can spend more money, throw more resources at it. I've said that before, but it really comes down to lots of startup entrepreneurs look around their industry and they go, okay, well, Microsoft has this huge trade show booth. We need a huge trade show booth if we want to be. It's like, no, your job is to be the smart mammal, not the big dinosaur. And so if you're going to, the encouragement is spend no money, period, until you are sure that there's no better way of doing it. And then to James' point, and to James' point, you don't want to be stupid. Spend money where it makes a big difference in your company, but oftentimes, by throwing a little more thought of the problem, you find out you don't need to spend the money. And then also the focus on what your core advantage is to your customer, and you'll find that you don't really have to spend a lot of money. Like early Amazon, they didn't have the fancy office. They didn't have, I think they had boards on solid horses to desks. They put a lot of money into servers because that was their core differentiator. They wanted a fast website, so when people were buying online, they'd have a good experience. So think of every company. There's areas where you probably want to overinvest, and then underinvest and start every other area as long as you can to get over the top so you can spend more.
Well, I was going to promote Fast Track this instead. So, need a better microphone. If you are looking for, jumping back to the mentoring thing real quick, if you're looking for a more formalized program, kind of a more classroom style thing with some really great people, Fast Track is an excellent program. And who's been through Fast Track in this group? Yeah, so 3 of us haven't, and I definitely recommend it.
All right. Well, any last question? No. Apparently, he's not going to give you a microphone.
Yeah, well, I was about to say that actually on the way over, I was thinking we probably should try to figure out how to do Gangplank Fast Track.
I agree.
Let's talk about that. Just probably Gangplank speakers, Gangplank attendees, and just keep it in the community.
That'd be great. All right, last question. We got just a couple minutes left. None?
So, just to remind you guys who's who, this is Ed, and he's from Stealthmode, stealthmode.com. This is Tim from brandadoption, brandadoption.com. This is Scott from Vente, which I have no idea what the website is. Vente.com. James Archer from 40agency.com. Remy from Dev